Welcome, everyone, to Technology Solutions for Early Childhood. The future is now. I'm Jackie Hess, the director of the Center on Technology and Disability and of FHI 360's Disability Studies and Services Department and Early Care and Education Department. I have a number of people to introduce, but before I do that, we're just going to set the tone for the day by playing a short FHI 360 explainer video. And then I'm going to introduce our Department of Education program officers, and eventually we'll get to our wonderful keynoter. So we'll do the video. Babies begin to learn how to interact with the world from the minute they're born. There are now tools that we never had before that we should not be denying the youngest of our children. That can include computer-based, tablet-based, phone-based apps or programs that teach children cause and effect, for instance, the nuances of facial expressions, fine motor skills, pincer skills, certainly all aspects of early learning. There really is no too young, because there's no too young for development. The issue of screen time has a different meaning when we talk about children at risk of or having developed disabilities. As soon as we recognize that they're struggling with something, that's the time to do an assessment and to see if there's something that can help that child narrow any developmental gap and hopefully close the gap entirely. No one supports just plopping a child in front of a screen and leaving them there for a few hours. That is a world away from the type of interaction between an adult and a child and a program that's enabled by technology that really allows that child to flourish. When you see the magic when a child for the very first time is able to look the parents in the eye, is able to communicate, "I love you," is able to be on their stomach for the first time. When you see these extremely powerful leaps in development and learning, then you know that technology has made possible what would not have been possible before. Okay, so I think what I'm taking away from that is either I paid no attention to what I was wearing the day we taped, or I only own one dress. So, before introducing our other welcomers, I just want to take a minute to acknowledge some people in the audience. We're pleased to be joined by Tracy Dixon, the Federal Program Officer for the Let's Participate project, which you'll be hearing about later in the morning. We're also going to be, well, we're honored that we're going to be joined by Dr. Libby Doggett, who is the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy and Early Learning at the U.S. Department of Education. I also want to do a shout out to the large delegations from Montgomery County Public Schools, from Fairfax County Public Schools, and the biggest is from Prince George's County Public Schools. So all of those counties are making, obviously, a huge investment in early childhood and technology. We're pleased, of course, to have all of the educators here and the advocates. Those of you who have come from Pennsylvania, from Queen Anne's County, Loudoun County, as well as we have a contingent from the infant toddler connection of Fairfax Falls Church. So we really appreciate all that collegial effort that was made to get here. I want to welcome the more than 350 people who are joining us online via streaming, and I hope that those of you who are online will be posting your questions and comments throughout the day. We have staff, people who will be just looking at all your questions and gathering them up and we hope there'll be some time for both on-site questions and some of the remote questions. I want to acknowledge and thank FHI 360's Chief Operating Officer, Deborah Kennedy Irahieto, and the head of our U.S. programs unit, Patrick Montesano, who, both of whom not only provided the food for the event, because some of you may know federal funds can't be used for food, so you can thank them for that, but mostly because of their deep commitment to children and their education and health. And that infuses all of the work that we do here at FHI 360. Now, finally, as advertised, I'd like to introduce Carmen Sanchez and Terry Jackson. They are program officers and education specialists at the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Special Education Programs, OSEP. They oversee a lot of programs designed to strengthen developmental and learning outcomes for not only young children, but children K through 12 and beyond. And they have been and are excellent program officers for the Center on Technology and Disability. So, Carmen?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Terry Jackson, and this is Carmen Sanchez. We're the OSEP project officers for CTD, and we'd just like to welcome everyone here this morning, here in the audience, and both on who are participating virtually online. I'd like to also give a special welcome and a big thank you to our symposium's keynote presenter and expert panelists who will share their personal experiences, latest research, and demonstrations of hands-on activities that will just help to highlight just how technology can impact lives of our children and families. You know, as project officers, Carmen and I hope that everyone will be able to walk away with at least 2 to 3 big ideas about promising practices on how to support families and use technology to support the learning needs of children. And finally, I'd like to give a big thanks to the CTD Project Director, Jackie Hess, along with Bridget Gillarini from the Pacer Center and Tracy Gray from AIR for their tenacious leadership and in making this symposium possible.
I also want to extend a welcome to all those who are participating here in person and the 350 or so who are remotely participating today in the Symposium on Technology Solutions for Early Childhood. As one of the CTD's project officers in the Office of Special Education Programs at the U.S. Department of Education, I'm so pleased to have an opportunity to dive more deeply into how technology can transform the lives of young children with disabilities. For those of you who are not yet familiar with the Center on Technology and Disability, OSEP funded it 3 years ago to be the go-to source for all things related to technology and disability for a wide range of audiences. For families, educators, related services personnel, assistive technology folks, professionals, early learning programs, and states. I might have left off a couple of the audiences in this seemingly exhaustive list. It took the place of other much smaller centers that focused on one of these audiences, and our hope was that in serving as a depository for all things disability and technology related, these discrete audiences could learn from each other and focus on how to use technology to improve the lives of all children with disabilities. This symposium is part of this focus and can educate all of us on how even the youngest children with disabilities can benefit from technology. But I also have a personal interest in the topic. I have a child with cerebral palsy. I shouldn't say a child since he's 22 now and he's a young man, finishing his college career in a mere 2 weeks, and I hope soon to be out of my house and a productive working member of the world. When he was very young, we bought one of the very first touch screens, which we placed over the regular screen on the computer so that he could directly interact with the computer in spite of his physical limitations. I also want to give a shout out to the Infant Toddler Connection of Fairfax Falls Church and FCPS. You all served him very well. In preschool, he laughed when his teacher thought he had broken his rollerball mouse after he figured out how to remove the ball. He taught his middle school resource teacher to use a chat program to answer his questions promptly without having to laboriously say his question. And in college, he uses a text-to-speech program on his phone to order his favorite meal at McDonald's. Learning to use technology at a very young age was vital to his growth, his learning, and his eventual independence away from home. Even more importantly, these many years later, this technology that marked him as different when he was very young is now no longer that special, shedding much of its assistive qualities along the way, so that his use of the technology serves to assure his inclusion in the world at large. Our hope is that this symposium will spur all of us to think how we may use technology to not only help young children with disabilities learn and grow, but also to expand their view of their world and their place in it. Thank you, and let's begin.